Holland. This is the country which without doubt can be described as a land of innovation. For a country that has had its natural landscape altered in so many ways over the centuries, their position as the second agricultural exporter in the world after the United States is one to marvel about. Land is scarce here and fully exploited. The areas of natural vegetation are not so extensive. As compared to a country like Ghana, the weather has its own challenges. Yet, what may be a disadvantage to others has been effectively used to advance the cause of this nation. With the aid of technology, innovation and determination to succeed. Even with the scarce land, Netherlands has a number of national parks and nature reserves. This is to protect portions of the natural landscape. A constant reference to research and development is key in the progress being made by the Netherlands. A media team from various countries set out to find out more about what informs this development under the aegis of the Netherlands Enterprise Agency. From the research institutions to the high-tech greenhouses and energy plants, there is so much to pick from. It makes the statement that resources are not but they become more meaningful. Divesting tomatoes offers an innovative way of growing tomatoes. With an efficient use of a greenhouse and use of geothermal heat, the company grows tomatoes in a natural way with sustainability in mind. Fossil fuel is not used and adequate dehydration takes place to reduce the risk of fungal infections within the greenhouse. Because of this approach, chemicals are not used to protect the tomatoes. Where need be, biological crop protection is used. It is not surprising that the company won the award for Best Tomato Grower Worldwide for 2015 at the Fruit Logistica in Berlin. The crop manager of Divesting Tomatoes expands on the innovative approach of the company.
Ad van Adrichem. I'm the crop manager over here and I'm a member of the board. This place is in operation since 2004. This greenhouse particularly since this is the second year that we grow the variety. It's working well. We set some goals for this greenhouse. We received already the energy part. For the production part we also expected some improvements. Well, I mentioned that we use only rainwater and we can store that during winter times in the sand layer underneath the ground, and we can get that up during summer times. So that means that we have the same quality year round. And we make sure that we use every drip of water. So the water we give to the plants, what we give too much is recollected again, is cleaned again and is given again. Energy, we invested in a geothermal system, which is a system with 2 wells which are drilled to more than 2 kilometers depth. There's a sand layer over there which contains water. We will pump up that water. That water is heated up during the time by the core of the earth. We take the heat out of the water and we put the water back in another well in the same sand layer. So the amount of water in the sand layer stays the same. We only extract the heat, and with that heat we heat the greenhouse. CO2 that we buy, we need that for our plant growth, because if we adjust CO2 in the greenhouse, we can reach up to 15% more production just by doubling the CO2 concentration comparing with the outside concentration. There's a big refinery which produces from gas and oil. They produce different kinds of products, and their waste product is CO2. Normally that went up into the air, which is a very pure form. Right now they put it in a grid and we are hooked up to that grid and we buy it from them to put into our greenhouses.
The company has no challenge with giving out carbon dioxide.
We need some fossil fuels yet, but I think we are over 95%.
What is the recommendation, at least from the board that controls it?
We set our goal that we want to be a CO2 consumer instead of a CO2 producer. We already manage that because we buy more CO2 than we make ourselves. So we reach that goal. We try to stay above 90% of the use of geothermal heat for our greenhouse. That's our goal.
It is not surprising that minimum waste is produced here.
Because the climate is that good controlled in a greenhouse, our waste, our really waste is less than 1%. We also have 1 or 2%, which is not good enough for the highest market. Right now we make them into different kinds of products, like juices. And we also use a certain percentage to dry them, to get dry tomatoes, but that are quality-wise very good tomatoes.
Divesting tomatoes produces packaging cases from the stem of the tomato plants.
Well, that project started about 4 years ago. Right now we have the first prototypes. So if you look at the carton boxes, which are made of tomato stems, this year we had about 250,000 of them. If we're looking at, so that was last year. For this year we're looking at a bigger volume of that, but then we're also looking at smaller boxes which are made out of tomato leaves. So that's still in a phase which has to grow. We also have some technical challenges we have to overcome. It's also not a project of our own, but together with the paper and carton industry in Holland, for example. So big parties are involved to make that into a success.
Because the company is constantly making an effort to improve on its operations, they regularly plow back. Thanks to the level of efficiency, they do not incur losses. Catherine Rungu is from Horti News, Kenya.
I'm seeing tomatoes being planted in a huge greenhouse. In my country, we only grow flowers in the size of greenhouses, not tomatoes and not food. We, especially in Africa, have a lot to learn about technology, about innovation, about serious investment in agriculture. We have a lot of water, we have a lot of energy, but we waste most of it. If we harness this kind of technology, I believe we can also achieve high levels of efficiency in our countries.
At a time when several countries in Africa are facing energy challenges, the innovative approach here is worth learning from. Sabrina Altman is with Holland Branding. She speaks about the significance of the innovative processes here.
It's important to show this horticultural sector because it's one of the main economic sectors for the Dutch economy. And there's a lot of international trade and investment going on in this sector, so we want to show the world what Holland has to offer in this field. I think the Netherlands is very innovative in many sectors, not only horticultural. So maybe not all concepts are directly applicable in other countries, like in your country, but I think as an inspiration and yeah, I think it's important to show what Holland has to offer.
Vishwanath Kulkarni of the Hindu Business Line was on the tour.
What we see here, it's a full-scale commercial farming. When compared to the Indian context, India, the land holdings are very small, less than 2 acres per farmer. And it's a subsistence kind of a farming in India. And this year we have faced a glut, especially in the southern part of the country, where the prices had crashed to as less than 2 to 3 cents per kg. So here, what we see here is, a full-scale commercial effort to grow the produce. And I think that the technologies that have been evolved here in terms of processing, extending the shelf life of the tomatoes, can be of some use to the Indian farmers.
Sometimes one wants to ask what the Netherlands would have been if it had all the ideal conditions available elsewhere. Kingsley OBENG-KYEREH reporting.